Welcome to Inner Songwriting Theory. Today we're going to talk all about the harmonic chord progression. Understanding this concept only requires you to know your basic major and minor chords and your major scales. If you don't, not to worry, there are plenty of resources you can use after this. Understanding the harmonic chord progression helps you make great chord progressions from nothing. The majority of all music you've ever heard will have used this concept in one way or another. It spans artists, genres, and centuries. That's how you know it's worth it. It informs us which chords go together naturally. Knowing this means you can construct your own natural sounding chord progressions as a basis for your songwriting. It can also open you up to more complicated ideas such as borrowed chords or modal interchange. Let's go. The harmonic chord progression is a series of chords that can be extracted from the major scale. Let's take our C major scale and see how this works. The idea goes, if we isolate the first, third and fifth notes of our scale, we end up with C, E and G. C, E and G together form a C major chord. So we've extracted a C major chord from the C major scale. Seems obvious, right? Let's try starting on another note. So this time, let's make D our first, E becomes our second, F our third, G our fourth, and finally A our fifth. If we drop the 2 and 4 and isolate the root third and fifth, we get D, F, and A. D, F, and A form a D minor chord. The great news is we can do this to every note of the major scale, giving us 7 chords to play with. E, G, B gives us E minor, F, A, C gives us F major, G, B, D gives us G major, A, C, E gives us A minor, and finally B, D, F gives us our odd one out, B diminished. The even better news is that it's the exact same order of chords for every major scale. The pattern always goes major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Or if you find it easier to remember, maj, min, min, maj, maj, min, dim. Now you have access to hundreds of possible chord progressions. Let's try this in another key and see the results. If we apply our 1-3-5 pattern to the G major scale, G, B, D gives us G major, A, C, E gives us A minor, B, D, F sharp gives us B minor, C, E, G gives us C major, D, F sharp, A gives us D major, E, G, B gives us E minor, and finally F sharp, A, C gives us F sharp diminished. When you get to know the order well enough, you don't even have to work out the individual chords. It's always maj, min, min, maj, maj, min, dim. Careful not to mix up your maj and your min.
Minge.
For example, if the E major scale is made up of E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, and D sharp, the chords we can extract must be E major, F sharp minor, G sharp minor, A major, B major, C sharp minor, and D sharp diminished. If the B major scale is made up of B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp, the chords we can extract are B major, C sharp minor, D sharp minor, E major, F sharp major, G sharp minor, and finally A sharp diminished. All you have to do is get to know your major scales and memorize the order of chords, and you'll have access to a wealth of chord progressions. It's also important to note that when we notate chord progressions based on the major scale, we use the Roman numerals 1 to 7 to describe each degree of the scale. Capital numerals mean major, lowercase means minor, and lowercase with a circle means diminished. Here it is lined up with the C major scale so you can see how it works. The uppercase 1, 4 and 5 tell me that C, F and G are major. The lowercase 2, 3 and 6 tell me that D, E and A are minor, whilst the lowercase 7 with the circle tells me B is diminished. Let's take a look at some real life examples. Literally everyone. I'm not even joking. It would be impossible to give you a definitive list of songs because it almost appears everywhere. Today's modern pop industry almost exclusively uses this concept. This is because it's the fastest and most secure way of getting a decent chord progression without too much thinking. Saying that, this concept has still been around for hundreds of years. Let's take a look at some examples. Here are a few famous short examples. Let It Be by the Beatles starts with the chords C, G, A minor and F that repeat throughout the song in different orders. If we cross-reference the progression with the C major scale, we can see how it matches up perfectly. C major contains 3 major chords, namely C, F and G, just like our Beatles progression, while the A minor can be spotted on the 6th degree of the C major scale, the 6th always being minor. Altogether, we could say we have a 1-5-6-4 progression in the key of C. This proves without a shadow of a doubt that the song was based on the key of C major. Let's look at some other examples. Ed Sheeran's Shape of You uses the chords C sharp minor, F sharp minor, A and B on a loop throughout the majority of the song. If we compare it to the harmonic chord progression of the E major scale, we can see once again they all match up, even the chord qualities. C sharp and F sharp are the 6 and 2, which are always minor, while A and B are the 4 and 5, which are always major. We could describe it as a 6-2-4-5 progression in the key of E. Bruno Mars' Lazy Song features the chords B, F sharp and E in its verses and choruses, with C sharp minor, D sharp minor and G sharp minor in its bridge. That's nearly every chord in the B major scale, with the 1, 4 and 5 in the choruses and the 2, 3 and 6 in the bridge. If this simple concept is good enough for the Beatles, Bruno Mars and Ed Sheeran, I think somehow it's good enough for us. Let's write some music. Let's go back to C major and try and write some chord progressions. Let's take the 1, C major, the 4, F major, the 6, A minor, and the 5, G major and see how it sounds. So they sound okay, but let's try and make it sound like an actual song. So out of nowhere we have a great sounding piece of music. All we did was pick 4 chords from the scale and play them with confidence. Let's go again. Let's go with 6, 3, 4, 5. A minor, E minor, F and G. And with some musicality. Again, with minimal effort, we have the basis for a song. What about a new key? From G major, let's take our 1, 6, 2 and 5. G, E minor, A minor and D. So with minimal effort you can create the beginnings of great pieces of music. And don't forget you can put them in any order that you want. If one chord doesn't work, just swap it for another. You just have to have access to your major scales. There are many active and passive ways to learn the harmonic chord progression. In the beginning it will take some thinking, but remember, the aim is to reach a point where you no longer have to think. One day chord progressions will just flow out of you. Number 1, write your own music. Write down your major scale, work out the harmonic chord progression and make some great music just like we did earlier. Remember, add rhythm, confidence and musicality or it just won't work. Write lyrics and sing along if you want to. Treat every progression like a song and it will be a song. This is the only way to fully understand and appreciate the usefulness of this concept. Number 2, recognize it. Take a look at songs that you love and try and recognize the chords, the keys and the relationships between them. Don't forget the examples we tried out earlier. Undoubtedly you'll find the harmonic chord progression in many places. Watch your fingers as you play. You'll begin to recognize common patterns and shapes whatever instrument you play. Number 3, listen to it. It's very hard to avoid this one. Listen to music that features it. Play along. I would give you a list of examples, but that would be a very long list. Number 4, write out the concept. Treat it like a maths problem. Write it down or do it in your head. Work out your major scale, apply the harmonic chord progression. Remember, it always has the same order of maj min min maj maj min dim. This isn't a foolproof method, but it is close. Experiment and have patience. Here are a couple of tips to get you started. Generally, 1 and 6 are good starting points. Don't get me wrong, start where you want. Experiment. There are tons of songs that start on the 2, the 4, any which place. But if you want fast results, the 1 and 6 are great places to adjust the ear to the key. Give it a try. Careful with that 7. You may have noticed that I barely touched on that 7 chord. There's a reason for that. The 7, rather than being major or minor, is actually a diminished chord. Diminished chords have a reputation for sounding tense and dissonant. For that reason, it's a rare find in pop music. Have a quick listen. So it's a little different from your 3 major and 3 minor chords. All that being said, it's still usable, you just need to know how. Diminished chords are recognized for the tension that they create. The best way to resolve that tension is by returning to the root chord of the scale. Let's try this in C major. I'll take the 1, 4, 7 and return to the 1. Do you hear that tension resolve? It's proof that in the right context, anything can sound good. If you like the sound, run with it. Lastly, keep it simple. You don't have to use all 7 chords in one progression. Take 2 or 3 and explore the different combinations you can make. There are thousands of songs that only use a handful of chords, just like these ones from earlier. Patience is key. So while you're missing this face, I've got a challenge for you. As you can predict, use this concept to write your own songs. Verses, bridges, choruses, whatever your style. Experiment to your heart's content, and remember you can watch this video as many times as you want if you get stuck. Don't be afraid to write things down. Stay tuned and keep writing. Thank you for watching Inner Songwriting Theory.